Hi, everyone. This is Gwen Peterson, and I'm going to introduce you to my friend and health coach, Sara Griffin. She has come up with a really simple solution for the people who, like many of my clients, have done the 5-in-1 and had success, and then life has gotten in the way, and they continue to go back and forth on the 5-in-1, hoping to pull off those remaining 15 to 20 pounds. So I'm going to turn the time over to Sara. This is not a professional video by any means, but I wanted to hear what she does for her clients. So I just decided to record it so that I can have it for my clients who I know could really benefit from what's working for her with her clients. So Sara, take it away and tell me what you're doing for your people.
All right, I just give you a little bit of background. I have my bachelor's degree in nursing, so the science part of food is really important to me and maintaining my weight. And so as a client myself, that was kind of my quest, is I didn't want to go back to weighing 211 pounds again, because I have yo-yoed before. And my big sell on Take Shape for Life was not yo-yoing, was learning how to do it and the education part of it. And so I made that a big quest for myself. One of the things you need to understand from what you've been doing with the 5-in-1 when you got the weight off is that you learned what it felt like to keep your fuel going all day long. And we pull ourselves off the 5-in-1 and transition, life gets in the way, and we really have to be mindful of that regularly fueling our body. But it gets complicated and stressful for us. And so I kind of first want to pull and show you when we come off the 5-in-1, we're adding in food. And for my clients, I make sure that they slowly stay on that 6 times a day eating. And so you can see I kind of map it out for them. They're eating at 7 o'clock in the morning. And then they're eating every 2.5 to 3 hours. And I kind of march that through the day. So here I have someone starting at 7 in the morning, then they're going to eat again between 9:30 and 10, again between 12 and 1, 2:30 and 4, between 5 and 7, 7:30 to 10. So somehow your day is going to work out that you're eating all day long. Mm-hmm. But at the end of transition, you should be ending up having around 1,500 calories that you're eating. And this is really a manageable place for us all to go, depending on how busy you are with your life. You can eat more calories. Mm-hmm. But often most of us are eating more calories because we're not paying attention. And that's how we get that extra weight coming off after we go on off the 5-in-1. Is because we're really not sticking into, are we being structured with how we're eating? And so we kind of have to back up and gain control, And so just like we loved the 5-in-1 because we didn't have to think about what to eat, and we were in control. For me, I had my little alarm went off every 2.5 hours, and I knew what to do. And so I wanted to continue that going on into real life. So there's so many things to tell you.
So the transition guide is fairly cut and dry because you're still staying on every 2.5 to 3 hours. But what do you say to, I know Kara told me that you had a really good thought about, when somebody loses a bunch of weight and does spectacular at the beginning, and then for whatever reason they kind of,
right, when you start the 5-in-1, you're desperate. You're hopeless. Like, enough is enough. I want to improve my life. But when you get that weight down and then you transition back into real life and then you put on 10 or 15, maybe you put on 20 pounds, you're not as desperate.
Right.
And you're back to eating kind of out of different food groups, and you're not really at a place that being on the 5-in-1 is necessarily worth it to you, because you're not back at 211 like I was. You're back at 150, and 150 looks way different than 200 pounds.
Right.
And so, maybe we need to jump to that. So anyways, that's how I transition my clients. And if that's something that you need to know later, that's maybe a different thing. But what I have my clients that are struggling with, weight coming back on is gaining back in that control. And let me pull up, sorry. What I first do is I teach them about food groups, okay? And so you need to understand that when you are eating food fits in different areas, okay? And so most, sample menus will show you grains, or they'll use another word called starch. Mm-hmm. Dr. A talks about these in chapter 9 in your Dr. Habits of Health book, and you need to spend the time reading chapter 9. Like, if you're not going to put the time in to educate yourself, this isn't just going to happen overnight for you. Mm-hmm. But I've tried to simplify what I have read and studied from chapter 9 on a 2-page document for you. And so you do not, when I throw out, you have to eat 1,500 calories, people just kind of shut down and say, I don't want to count calories. But I'm not telling you to count calories. I'm telling you to pay attention to the kind of food you're eating and the serving size of it.
Okay.
So when I say to you, okay, you can have a grain, well, what does that mean? Well, the rule of thumb is that you can have one slice of a piece of bread or one roll, or if you jump into pastas or rice, you're looking at rule of thumb is a half a cup. So if you're guessing, you guess one piece, or a bagel, a half a piece, because that's one piece of a bagel, or a bun. Usually, real hamburger buns, they're not the best choice because they're, not, you can get some whole grain, but we won't get into that. But anyways, what you need to look at the package, and you need to see what a serving size is. And a serving size is around 100 calories. It might be 80, it might be 140. So I'm using the word around 100 calories, okay? So we're trying to make life simple. And you don't have to look at labels all the time because you eat things all the time, the same things. But when you're starting, you need to pay attention to what a serving size is for something. So the rule of thumb in the grain area is one slice or a half a cup. Now,
will you open that up so I can see it as you're talking?
Say that again.
Will you open that document up so we can see?
Is it not open?
It's small.
How do I open it up? Do I make it bigger?
It's off. For me, it's off to the side. Like, I can see all your lists, and then it's off to the side to the right. Like, double click on it and see what it does.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still not big?
Mm-mm.
Is that bigger?
Mm-mm. Like, it's like I see your, maybe unshare your screen and then share it again, and let's see if it opens up bigger. Yep, there we go.
Okay, so there's grains. The next one is fruit. Rule of thumb with fruit, it's one piece, a medium-sized piece of fruit, or a half a cup. I'm going to throw out something else you need to study in Dr. A's book in chapter 9 is glycemic index. And that's a whole nother topic we can say. But if you have put on weight and you are trying to get it off, or you're having a hard time maintaining it, you need to be most of the time eating out of the dark green sections of the glycemic index charts that he has in chapter 9. That's how you pick what to eat in those spaces. So if you're 10 pounds up and you're trying to get it off, try not to eat bananas, eat apples. They have different glycemic index. Watermelon is 76. Glycemic index means how much of food raises the level of sugar in your blood, okay? And so if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to keep that lower if you can. So if I'm choosing fruit and I have put on weight and I'm trying to get it off, I'm picking dark green. Same thing in all these food groups. Okay. Grains is another huge one. If you were trying to get some weight off, you choose dark green. You can choose from all of them, but you need to mix it up. But if you're trying to lose weight, you're always trying to pick dark green. Okay, if you don't know what that means, then you need to open your book to chapter 9. There also is a book page 163 is an awesome resource for you, and it's about transition and maintenance for life, and that's in chapter 12, and that's another place you need to go. So anyways, dairy. People need to understand dairy is also used as a protein. It's an interchangeable food group, okay? And so you have dairy servings that you have during the day, but it also can apply to protein. So I just want to file that in your brain.
Yep.
So 1 serving of a dairy, we can go through, here, and you can read. I'll say more often than not, I use the small little Greek yogurts, but you need to use your noggin when you're buying Greek yogurt.
Yes.
Because they need to be around 100 calories. Some of them are 80, some of them are 120. But then you look at your portion controlled meal replacements you ate on the 5-in-1, and you see how there's protein and carbohydrates. They're close, and they're not going to be exactly the same on the Greek yogurts, but they're going to be close. So there might be 12 proteins and 9 carbohydrates, or 11 carbohydrates, or 12 proteins. But have them close and have them between around 100 calories. There's also milk, and this is really important for people to understand the milk. If you have leftover dried MetaFast cereal, what kind of milk are you going to eat? You're going to eat almond milk. Why? Because it has 1 carb or less and only one gram of protein.
Right.
Oh, it doesn't have very much protein in it. Almond milk does not have protein. Okay, It is something that you drink when you're trying to watch how many calories you eat, and that you already have something protein carb that's close. Okay.
Well, you know what? Let me go back to the Greek yogurt for a second, because I've been looking a lot at those for my kids recently, and like you say, they're not all created equal. And the Dannon Light and Fit has 90 calories or 80 calories, but it's only 9 carb and 12 protein. But if you go grab those other Greek yogurts that are like the Chobani, that are not the Chobani Light and all that,
the Chobani ones you could do, the 100, or there's that one that starts with the letter O, Oka something.
Yes.
That one's a great one.
But if you look at the regular ones, they're double the carbohydrates that they are in the protein. And so people, I think, have this false sense of security grabbing a Greek yogurt.
And people need to understand, when we talk carbohydrates, we're talking carbohydrates, total carbohydrates, minus how much fiber is in there. So some of those Greek yogurts have, they usually use some kind of root in it to give it additional fiber. Not all of them have it, but you need to take the total carbs minus what fiber is in there. So it might be 12 minus 3 makes it 9, and then you look at it to the protein, and maybe the protein's 10. They're close, okay? That's a really important thing for you to understand. It's called net carbs. So anyways, the other thing I like to teach people about milk is cow's milk, or regular milk that we buy in jugs at the store, is usually around 110 calories. Okay, the calories is close. But what people don't realize is that cow's milk has usually around 12 grams of sugar in it, but 8 grams of protein. Okay, so you look at it and say, okay, it seems kind of close. Well, that might be true, but more than not, when you're eating cow's milk, you're also eating cereal, or you're eating a piece of toast, so you already have some additional carbohydrates coming in from your day. So eating that cow's milk is fine if you can have all those extra carbohydrates, but a lot of times if we're trying to lose weight, you can't. And so this is what I need you to think about. There is another product that's milk that you can drink that's unsweetened. You heard me, unsweetened soy milk. It's 80 calories, so it's less calories than cow's milk, and it has net carbs of 1, okay? But it has 8 grams of protein, just like cow's milk. Now, you're going to freak out when you go to the store and you're going to see that it has 4 grams of fat in it. You're going to say, I can't eat that. Yes, you can. We need fat in our diet too. So, and fat does not raise blood sugar. That's another thing in Dr. A's book you should be able to learn, is fat does not affect blood sugar. carbohydrates do, okay? So that's why it's okay to drink the soy milk with those 4 grams of fat, the 80 calories, and the protein. It's like this power-packed drink of milk, and it tastes good. It really does. So I like to teach people about that. The other thing is about cheeses. If you didn't learn on the 5-in-1, you should have. There's low-fat cheeses and moderate-fat cheeses and high-fat cheeses. Low fat and moderate is 6 grams of fat or less. You need to be looking at labels. You need to be watching for how many fat grams are in your cheese. And you need to have what you're eating around 100 calories. That can apply to a protein group and it can apply to a dairy group, okay? Same with cottage cheese. How much is around 100 calories? You should not be eating non-fat. You should be eating low-fat cheeses. Depending on the store, some of them carry 1 or 2%, but still, it's usually about a half a cup. So there's the dairy group.
And I don't know if this will apply to other people, but when, I'm always teaching clients, if you're looking at low fat-free, low fat, and full fat, the low fat's where we're targeting. But if the worst case scenario, if you're out to a restaurant and they have full fat dressing, try to be moderate on it, but it's not going to be as devastating to your blood sugar as a fat-free, because for whatever reason,
they put sugar in to make it taste good.
In the fat-free?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know why.
Fat-free always has, usually 90% of the times, has more carbs because they're adding things to compensate for the lack of fat to make it taste good.
Oh, okay.
That's why, yes, you're right. Yeah, don't get the non-fat, get the light, get the low fat, whatever that dressing is. And you're right. If all else fails, it's better to go to the whole fat, but then compensate for how much fat you just had at that meal later in the day.
Yes.
So anyways, vegetables. We know from the 5-in-1, a serving is a half a cup. Unless it's a lettuce, it's 1 cup. That should be a no-brainer for you. You did that on the 5-in-1. This is the other thing. Protein gets really, really scary for us when we come off the 5-in-1. It was easy to eat on the 5-in-1. It was cut and dry. We know what a lean protein looks like from the 5-in-1. We have a chart that we know to eat it. But what are other things that count as proteins? And so when you are off the 5-in-1, you need to be paying attention. And when you're on that 1,500 calorie thing that I showed you earlier, we'll go over a little bit more. You should be eating about 4 ounces of protein at lunch and 4 ounces of protein at dinner. Well, I don't want a big hunk of meat every day at lunch and dinner, and you probably don't either. So this is some things to file away, and I'll show you another document. But what's equal to 1 ounce of protein? Okay, do you know? I didn't know, so I started researching. A whole egg white, a whole egg, 2 egg whites, or 1/4 a cup of egg beaters is the same thing as 1 ounce of protein. Okay, a 1/4 of a cup, and I've got fat-free in here, but a 1/4 of a cup of 1% or 2% cottage cheese or Greek yogurt is the same thing as 1 ounce of protein.
Yeah, so not the fat-free, but the 1 or 2%.
Yeah, I'm always editing my document. All right, legumes. Legumes are beans, basically. 1/4 of a cup is equal to 1 ounce of protein. So you go to Chipotle, you're going to get a little meat and a little beans, but do you see how I'm coming up with my 4 ounces between those 2 kinds of foods?
Yes.
Okay. Then we've got some cheese they're going to add on, and you're going to have them go light because it's probably not low-fat cheese there, but that's an additional source of protein when you were at Chipotle eating on your salad. So 1 ounce of low-fat cheese, and that's that 3 grams or less, is the same as an ounce of protein. A 1/2 ounce of nuts is the same thing as an ounce of protein. 1 tablespoon of peanut butter is an ounce of protein. This is kind of a tip as I was studying for another client that has gout. 1 ounce of protein is usually about 7 grams of protein.
Okay. And of course, though, that, if we're looking at clean protein versus carbohydrate protein, like that peanut butter is going to have a whole lot more carbs in that 7 grams of protein than, let's say, the cottage cheese or the egg whites.
This is another document that I really like to share with people, and this is off. Do you see this one?
I can only see the one we're going through right now.
All right, so stop sharing. Okay, so this is another document that I like to show people, and this is from choosemyplate.gov.
Oh,
and this is what counts as an ounce of protein. And here's another kind of sheet of common things. One thing that we kind of have in our diet that people like to think they're guru healthy is hummus. 2 tablespoons of hummus is the same thing as an ounce of protein.
Got it. And I guess my point being that on the 5-in-1 only, not transition and maintenance, but on the 5-in-1, the reason why you're staying away from like the peanut butter and the hummus and the legumes as your protein is because they also have carbohydrates.
Right.
So you're keeping it cleaner.
We were purely talking about transition and maintenance. If you're in the 5-in-1, there's no legumes, there's no beans, there's none of these things. You have to stick to your lean and green list.
But I think it's nice to know or talk about that what you're saying about that. Most people get in that trap of the proteins that were on the 5-in-1, and they're so afraid of beans. They're so afraid of peanut butter, where if they can understand how to incorporate them, they are a really great resource.
Right. And they add spice to your life. Mm-hmm. Healthy fats. We have a list from the 5-in-1 that you can look at. And this is, another list that has a lot of those same things. One thing that, your saturated fats that you're eating, poly and monos are a better choice in your fats as you're eating. And that's, why Dr. A's saying, eat this kind of butter down here, is he's just trying to help you keep your saturated fat levels down. It's not that butter is bad for you. He just knows that your regular diet probably has more saturated fat than it needs. And so he's really trying to help you keep your saturated fats down to 7% out of your total intake.
Okay.
Treats and desserts, those are a fact of life. We're bombarded with having things. I've been at a wedding this weekend. My parents had a party yesterday. Eat them in moderation and pay attention to portion size. If you are gaining unwanted weight or trying to lose weight, you might think about coming up with a hard, fast rule for you that you're cutting them out for a while. Or you be very, very, very mindful that you take a bite and you stop, or you eat a little bit or you stop, or you do it very infrequently in a 7-day period. Mm-hmm. But that is an area that it's not your friend when you're trying to lose weight,
right?
Or not maintaining well. Tips: we all learn the Be Slim lifestyle, and the number one on that one is the letter M for me. Are you getting on the scale once a week and evaluating what you've done the last 7 days? Mm-hmm. And what does that scale tell you? And if it is slowly creeping up, then you need to go back and you need to be paying attention of what food groups you're eating and how much of those, the portion size are you eating in those food groups, okay? Right. I kind of have some other things down here about chapter 9, looking at the dark green areas, so you understand eating in the dark green so that you're eating low glycemic, meaning you're not raising your blood sugar high so that your insulin chases it and then takes everything and stores it as fat cells in your fat cells, and then you've got to work to get it off, okay? It sticks to you because your body... Probably you're not eating regularly either at those every 2 to 3 hours. And so your body is storing stuff because it has stopped trusting you that you are going to fuel it regularly. So it's got to store stuff for later when you decide to say, I'm not going to eat because I ate too much yesterday, which doesn't help you. It does not help you. So Be Slim lifestyle, we like to review breakfast within an hour of waking up. Are you doing moderate exercise? Dr. A does not want you at the gym 2 hours a day to monitor your weight. He wants you to at least try to move 30 minutes a day, okay? And there's some great chapters on that in the book. Support. Are you surrounding you with people with like-minded people? Do you have a support system? And if you have a sabotaging situation in your home, then you need to sit down and talk to everybody about you feeling good about yourself, and staying in shape is important. And bringing Blue Bell ice cream home every Friday is not helping, and it's actually making you mad. Anyways, I know Blue Bell was on recall, but it's my favorite. So anyways, do you have a plan? And we'll jump back to that really quick. Do you have a plan in how you're eating? And we'll go back over my structure. You have to have a plan. If you're just shoving food in your mouth and you don't know why you're picking what you're picking, then that's the problem. You've got to start doing that. Anyways, and we talked about getting on the scale.
Right. So I guess probably where you're going to go with this. So this is, it's interesting because I really like all of what you're showing. And I would hope that the clients that I have that are in this window where, like you said, they're not desperate anymore. They pulled off 40 pounds. They kind of sat back and now they keep yo-yoing in the 5 and 1. This is really great education, which I hope that they understand most of this, because a lot of my clients do read the books, all of that. But what would you say if I'm your client that is that person that, has been on and off plan, lost 40 pounds. I have 15 left to go. I've had the same 15 left for the last 6 months or a year. What do you do with that person? You go through this part first.
So you need to evaluate, are you living the habits of health? And you need to be honest with yourself. So that's the first thing, is you need to decide are you living the habits of health? So healthy eating, healthy motion, healthy sleep, healthy stress, healthy, what are the other ones, Gwen?
Okay, water, sleep, movement, food. You said another one.
Yeah. So healthy eating. Are you at a healthy weight? Nope. I'm trying to fix that. Mm-hmm. Are you eating healthy? Maybe not. I'm going to reevaluate that. Healthy sleep, and healthy eating has the water in there. But am I sleeping? Am I sleeping well? If you're a woman, if you're not getting 6 to 7 hours, there's an issue. There's, in the studies, if you're sleeping less than 6 and more than 8, that is a signifying of disease processes in your body.
Wow.
So you need to be between that 6 and 8 hour window. All of us have a little bit of difference, but at least 6 to 7, you need to be in there. Healthy motion. Are you trying to move 30 minutes a day? Again, that doesn't mean going and pumping at the gym. Go on a little walk. Go climb some stairs. Dance around your room. Don't sit slouched in a chair all the time. Sit up straight. There's lots of things you can do to make your body feel better. Mm-hmm. And the 5th is we all need healthy stress in our lives, but is the stress in your life so big that it's causing health issues for you? So those are those areas. So you evaluate that, and then often you can kind of tweak little things in that. Oh yeah, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. But then let's go back to the healthy eating. Mm-hmm. So I will go back over this with my clients. Now remember, I'm going to share my screen again. We went over the food groups, right? Mm-hmm. So you understand when I'm talking about food groups and how everything's around 100 calories, right?
Right.
Okay. So then I want you to start making good choices during the day. Okay. So, and I like most people in my age group, if you're really, really sedentary and you don't move at all, then we can talk. But this is a nice place to start. You're not overly hungry. You're fueling yourself regularly during the day. Anyways, this is a good place to start. This is where I start everyone, at 1,500 calories, okay? And I call this the meal building template. What do you need in a day? You need 64 to 96 ounces of water a day, okay? Do you have a way? This is how I drink my water, okay? This is my favorite. Oh, you can't see it because I'm sharing my screen.
Oh,
but anyway.
Yeah, we can still see.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so this is my favorite water, okay? So you have some kind of bottle. This is 40 ounces. I try to drink 2 of these a day. You need to be accountable to yourself. If you're not, then you're cheating yourself of water. Mm-hmm. 3 healthy fueling snacks. That can be, you figure out something that you like to eat for a snack that's, around 100 to 200 calories. Hopefully it's not highly glycemic, but there'll be kind of a balance in there.
And can I ask you real quick on those snacks, do you suggest to them to try to keep an eye on pairing the carbs and proteins so they're not eating
We'll talk about that a little bit, but
okay.
Obviously your meta-fast meals or your portion control meals or your optimal health meals, totally ideal for those times because we are busy. All of us are busy, and you are not going to make probably 6 meals a day for yourself. It's just almost humanly impossible. So having a stockpile of either the MetaFast portion control meal replacements or the optimal health meal replacements in your cupboard is the key to keeping your calories down and your blood sugar not having a high glycemic thing and not having to stress about eating. So you're cheating yourself if you don't have a little stockpile to help you keep your weight off. And probably most of you do, but it is okay. Mm-hmm. So these are the serving sizes of things you need to have in a day. You need to have 2 grains, okay? You need to have 2 fruits. You need to have 2 dairies, 3 vegetable servings, 2 4-ounce servings of protein in a day, 2 healthy fats, and you need to be eating every 2 to 3 hours, okay? And like I said before, I gave you an example. So when I wake up in the morning, I have breakfast and I say to myself, okay, I'm going to eat grain. Okay, I really like Special K protein cereal. 3/4 of a cup is around 100 calories. It's actually 110 or 120, but I measure it and I have that. Or I have a bread that has at least 3 grams of fiber in it, around 100 calories, okay? Then I have a piece of fruit. Remember, I can have a banana right now because I'm maintaining my weight, but if I was gaining weight, then I'd have an apple because it's lower glycemic. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I know where Gwen lives, peaches are in season, so I'd have peach. Dairy. I told you I like the soy milk, and I told you why. So I'd have a cup of soy milk, okay? Bam. Then this morning, I'm busy, and I just had a dark chocolate shake, okay? And, yeah. Okay, lunch. I'm going to have 1 piece of my bread. I'm going to have some tomato and lettuce. I'm going to have some sliced, I try to get low sodium like at Costco lunch meat, and I'll weigh it out. And, if I had hummus, I'd take 2 tablespoons of honey. You see how I pick from that protein list to get up to 4 ounces, okay? Dairy, same thing. I pick something from those groups. Now, if I ended up not eating all these food groups, what am I going to do with them? I'm going to move them. Okay, I'm going to move one down here and use it in here. So I might have some dairy down with this fueling snack, okay? What I want to point out to you, Gwen, and this is what's going to be, you need to understand that grains have protein and carbohydrates. Fruit has mostly carbohydrates. Dairy has a little bit of carbohydrates and more protein, okay? Mm-hmm. This is balanced. These food groups help you have that protein carb pairing, okay? This, sometimes your snack might not be perfect, but you can think that way, and that's why the optimal health and the portion control meal replacements are awesome there because they're balanced for you already.
Well, and so let me back up to that fueling up top, because I think you just made a really good point about depending on which grains you choose also, you've got to look at, like you're saying, those the green sections of grains, that all grains, all dairy, none of that, all of those things are not created equal. And my guess, because a lot of times I try to teach the people in 5 and 1 that if in their future that they're in their mind plugging stuff into, let's say, MyFitnessPal, and they know that their carbs and protein are equal in maintenance, they're good to go. But ultimately, what I think I heard you say, which I think is a good point, is let's say this grain and the fruit end up being a little higher in carbohydrates than the protein you're getting from the dairy and the grain. When you are fueling every 2.5 to 3 hours, your body can absorb those excess carbohydrates and not store them because you're continuing to fuel it. So even if it's off a bit, it's not going to store.
Well, right? Yeah, in a 24-hour period, I'm going to unshare my screen and I'm going to pull something else up for you. You need to understand optimal health is not a perfect pairing of 50-50 between protein and carbs. It is, and I will show you this on this paper, and this, I call this tips. Can you see that paper?
Oh, you have to reshare your screen.
Oh yeah. Sorry, everybody. I'm new at this kind of.
It's all good.
I'm just a baby.
And by the way, I'm going to ask you if you're willing to give me these documents in a Google Doc so I can paste them in the comments of the YouTube video I'm going to make for my clients so they have access. Is that okay?
So official, Gwen. It's so official.
What you need to understand is you're so far ahead of me in this whole piece that I'm sure they're looking at it going, am I going to have access to these things?
I know. Okay. Well, I'm educating you right now.
Yes.
Okay. So when all else fails and you don't know what to do and you're going, I don't know what to eat. I don't know how to get rid of this side thing. There. Okay, you can see it, right?
Yep.
Okay, so Sara has this nice plan that she's supposed to eat a grain and a dairy and a fruit for breakfast. And you're like, holy crap, I just can't think that way, right? This is what you need. This is when all else fails. You need to eat meat, eggs, dairy, bean, nuts, or a meal replacement. Those are the protein main sources, okay? With a fruit, a bread, or a veggie. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So these things are big contributors in carbohydrates, and these things are bigger contributors in protein. Okay? Remember, the serving size is around 100 calories in both of those areas. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is the all else fails pairing. Okay? And it's just nice to know, okay, I'm having an egg. Oh, I can have a piece of toast with it. I'm having some nuts. Oh, I can have an apple with that. Do you see how you're pairing those food groups?
Yes.
Okay. Understanding that food group paper is very critical in you maintaining or pulling your weight back down if you put a little bit on. Okay, why do you eat this way? It keeps your blood sugar more balanced and your insulin pump turned down. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep things rolling along, keeping that insulin pump not chasing up, spiking, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason you eat like this is because it fuels your body and it keeps you satisfied. I had this problem when I weighed 200 pounds. I was never satisfied. Mm-hmm. I could eat and eat and eat, and I was never satisfied. And being on the 5-in-1 taught me what satisfied feels like.
Right.
And so when you eat together and you eat enough calories to fuel your body, it fills it up and keeps you satisfied. Mm-hmm. So this is what I wanted to get to, Gwen, was this part. And a lot of people need to understand this. If you want to use a fitness pal and do the pie chart and stuff, in a full day, not every meal, you should be between 44 and 55% carbs. You should be 20 to 25% protein and 15 to 25% healthy fats. Okay, so at the end of the day, if you started in the morning and you finished, you should be close. Is it going to be exact? No, don't drive yourself crazy. Okay?
But can I ask you a question there?
Yes.
I've always understood, now this is the 5-in-1, so this is where my brain has gone with this, that maintenance, you always want to be a little higher in protein than carbs. So I've always thought it was 40 protein, 30 carbs, 30 healthy fat. Tell me why it's not that.
It's just not, that's not optimal nutrition for you. And so if you go in Dr. A's book in chapter 12, you can find a chart that has this very information. And you have to have enough carbs to fuel your energy. That's your instant energy throughout your day. And so protein is very, very nice, and it is the number one nutrient in maintaining weight. So we don't overeat protein and undereat carbs unless you are really, really anal about just eating protein all the day. We naturally, that's how we got heavy, is we were always choosing quick things to fuel our bodies with. Our bodies still need those things. What's magical about the 5-in-1 is the physiological state that you're in fat burn. And I could get real technical on you fast, but I won't. that is a physiological, scientific thing the 5-in-1 causes for you in fat burn. And you're actually getting more carbs by breaking down your fat cells in that calorie deficit than what you're eating. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So when you go down to maintenance and transition, in maintenance, you don't have the benefit of your fat cells getting burned, adding more fuel to your life. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. Yep.
So now you are at a healthy weight. You don't have a bunch of stuff stored on you anymore. You are moving and you are living life. You have to fuel that life, okay? And that's where this optimal nutrition comes from, is having 44 to 55% carbs, 20 to 25% proteins, and 15 to 25% healthy fats. Now, different bodies are different. What did I say you had to do in the letter M and Be Slim?
Movement.
M in Be Slim is monitor.
Oh.
Every week, once a week is the decision day, okay?
Right.
I got on the scale. Awesome. I'm, real close to where I was last week. Oh, crap. I was 2 last week. I'm up total of 3. I better really watch my carbs and make sure my proteins are really going in. That's the first thing you do. So the first thing I would take away from my life if I started putting little pounds on is you pull the grains. Okay, I reevaluate, am I making good choices? No? Okay, make sure I'm sticking to my plan. Mm-hmm. Okay, the next week is still coming on. Okay, I'm making some decisions, I think, with the grains that I'm not paying attention to. I pull the grains. If that still doesn't turn the scale the other direction, then you better start paying attention to the fruits. Those are the 2 food groups that cause us problems, okay? So this is really key in maintaining your weight, is understanding this. And if you go back to that plan of how you're eating, that's what it does for you, is it pulls in this kind of macronutrients. We have to have carbs, we have to have proteins, and we have to have healthy fats, or we're not satisfied. And so we keep needing food. The other thing, anyways, these are some references in the book of, staying optimal, healthy.
Let me go back to that the breakdown that you just had up. So for maintenance, I can exactly see why you can have the higher carbohydrates, because you were getting them in the 5-in-1 from your fat when it was using it for fuel. But when you're in maintenance, you don't have that fat to be using. But what about the person that is, yo-yoing with the 5-in-1? So I'm saying, okay, let's start kind of looking at these options and doing this. But they still have 15 to 20 pounds to lose, and the 5-in-1 just puts them in a 5-in-1 prison, and then they go haywire every other weekend. Would you say that they should shift that protein and carb numbers a bit so that they can be losing more? You get what I'm asking?
If I have someone that's not going to be compliant on the 5-in-1, mm-hmm. then I start really talking about the 3-in-3. Okay. And that's basically what this is the 3-in-3. Okay. And I have not successfully been able to drop someone down to 12 or 1,300 calories because they're too hungry. Ah. And so if I bring them down to the 1,500 and we use the MetaFast meals to keep them balanced during the day, and they understand the food groups. And a prime example is I have a really great girlfriend. She came over about 2 weeks ago. I went over all this stuff with me, and I can show you proof. I got a text from her. I'm down 2.3 pounds this week.
And she is doing this.
She's doing this.
3-in-3 and still losing weight.
Yes.
Okay.
And she's, she works as a night shift nurse, but she's trying to get her sleep in. She's moving. She's drinking her water, and she's following her individual plan, and she's monitoring. She got on the scale, and I liked her report.
and wouldn't you agree that the person that has yo-yoed on the 5-in-1, this gives them more freedom, and they may not lose the 5 pounds the first week that they
No, they're not going to, but this brings control. If you are just not going to be compliant with the 5-in-1, then at least give yourself a chance to do this. If this doesn't work, then maybe you'll get to that hopeless, desperate stage that the 5-in-1 isn't worth it to you to stick to the plan.
And if not, you're still going to lose at a slower but steady rate as long as you're following the system.
Yeah, if you're making sure. So I real quickly will go, here's the mid-afternoon. Here's dinner, 2 vegetable servings of fruit in your protein, that 4 ounces of protein up here. And then you're having your snack at night. This is critical, boys and girls, this part. Your calorie spread, and you can find this in Dr. A's book, and I wish I could blow this up bigger. Oh, I can. Look at that. Can you see this right here?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You will be hungry. In fact, I'm going to go to something different that has an example of this.
Okay.
You have to spread your calories out during the day. That's what the 5-in-1 does, right?
Yep.
Eat 100 calories here, 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 here. We have more at dinner, but blah, blah, blah. If you think that you can eat whatever you want and put it in Fitness Pal and it totals 1,500 calories, it won't work.
Right.
You have to spread it out during the day. So I'm going to stop sharing this. And this is what I've done is I've tried to help people understand that you've got to get 300 to 400 calories in at breakfast. Oh, look at this. How many food groups are in breakfast?
3.
1, 2, 3. Around 100 calories. What is that total? 300. Maybe something's a little more and you got closer to 400. But if I only ate 300 at breakfast, how many calories can I eat at my healthy fueling? I can eat 200.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
So that an optimal health bar is almost 200 usually, or a shake, or an apple and a cheese stick is closer to 200 sometimes than it is 100. You get it?
Yes. Okay.
So pairing in a healthy fueling often isn't 100. It's pretty hard to stay right close to 100.
Right.
There are lists that you can go off, but let me stop sharing. I want to show you this menu. See, Gwen, I have too much to teach you.
This is exact, and hopefully my clients, I don't mind that you're going more in detail because I just have a handful of people that are just at the point where I want them to get that last 10, 15, 20 pounds off, and they keep yo-yoing and going crazy and yo-yoing and going crazy. And they've done the books like the back of their hand, but I think applying it in a real world scenario and getting to do a 3 and 3 that makes sense, this is what I want them to see.
So, all right, this is an example of a real day, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So remember, I like to send people on this 1,500 calorie. At breakfast, they're supposed to have 300 to 400 calories. They're going to have a serving of grain. This is wrong. It should be 3/4 of a cup on this cereal. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I did higher glycemic on this, but if you're trying to lose weight, you're going to pick lower glycemic. Cantaloupe is high. Fruit, a dairy. I'm going to pick soy milk because it's going to make the carbohydrates in my cereal balance out a little better, right?
Right.
Okay. Then I'm going to come. I'm sorry, Gwen. I made one of these so great, and I don't have the great one up. Okay. I have to share again, right? Can you see now?
Yes. So,
No, this is not the same thing. Sorry. Okay. I edited this for you, so I'm showing you the good one. Okay, so then I put 1 cup of unsweetened milk, least carbs, most protein, right? Okay. Now we have 2 different products. We have the MetaFast meals and we have the Optimal Health. Okay. If I ate 300 at breakfast, I have 200 for my mid-morning fueling, right? Mm-hmm. So then I can do Optimal Health, right?
Right.
Lunchtime, remember, I'm spacing this out every 2 to 3 hours. I ate breakfast within an hour of waking up. I'm pushing water during this whole day. Minimum 64 ounces. I don't care how much you weigh. Your goal is 64. More is better. Lunch, 300 to 400 calories. I picked a piece of bread, a half a cup of broccoli, 4 ounces of chicken. And for my dairy, I threw in one of those little Greek yogurts. We've talked about those already. Okay. Same thing here with my snack. Okay. Dinner, 2. I had a cup of lettuce and a half a cup of tomatoes. I had an apple. I had 4 ounces of, I don't like trout. That sounds gross, but that's what was on the menu. 4 ounces of lean meat of some kind, and or a meatless protein, and of course. Right. Okay, healthy fats. I had some salad dressing, and I hate olives, so I had 1.5 ounces of avocados. This is MetaFast. They have some, the maintenance meal plans, they have some sample menus, so I added them for me. Anyways, and at dinner, again, in the evening, sometimes I have enough that I'll have a 200 optimal health at dinner. If you read Dr. A's, he's always saying, try to keep the evening fuel lighter than heavier. On some days I'm starving at night and I have the 200 calories here. His advice to you would be, but one of the things that you learn on the 5-in-1 is to intuitively eat.
Yes.
If you are starving, there's a reason, and you need to figure it out. It's either you didn't eat enough calories at breakfast and you need to get them made up in here, or you're thirsty, or you're not eating the best things that are keeping you full, the kinds of food you're choosing. So, but there's a reason. If you've been on the 5-in-1, you've transitioned, you're on maintenance, and you keep getting hungry. Getting hungry means your blood sugar is coming down and you're not fueling yourself, and you've got to figure out why. You should be able to get to a satisfied. So resources to help you figure out what your day is going to look like. That food group and serving sizes, rule of thumb paper I showed you at the beginning, how we went over the food groups. Chapter 12, if you go to page 162 to 169, is an awesome little review on transitioning. Really talks about vegetables, grains, and proteins and fruits in detail for maintenance and transition there, and pitfalls of going out to eat, things you choose, and so forth. You might say, Sarah, I don't know how much I need to eat. How much do I need to eat? And if you go to your coach's website, you can figure out how many calories you need to eat. Okay. If you are starving on the 1500 and you are losing weight and you don't want to lose weight anymore, you've got to start adding calories and getting to a higher. I can eat, if I'm at my healthy weight and I am exercising, I can eat 1900 calories a day and maintain my weight. I'm hungry on 1500 calories. So there's no reason. I'll show you that really quick. So chapter 9, we've talked about 100 times. That's where you figure out what foods to choose, glycemic indexes to look at, and portion size when you go out shopping, plan meals, or eat out. Okay. Chapter 9, chapter 12, specifically pages 162, 169. Go. Okay. So I don't know if can I share the screen? If you go, do I have to did it show me going somewhere?
I don't know why it glitched that first time, but we're good.
Okay. So here's your coach's website, although it's my pretty face up here, but just kidding. Okay. So our programs, you click on our programs, then you go to Optimal Health 3 and 3. You go down. Remember how you're like, oh, Sarah's driving me crazy. I don't know what is 100 calories, right?
Right.
And she's talking about all these stupid food groups. Well, look right here. It says view a full list of healthy exchanges and free choices. That entire list, everything on it, the name of it, the food group, and the portion size is 100 calories. Okay. So if I open that for you and show you, this is something that you probably should print out and have in a little reference book for yourself. Okay. So here's fruit, Here's dairy, and it has lots of great little things for you to read. Protein, starches. And
yep.
Sarah uses the word grain on her papers, but starches and grains are interchangeable. Okay. Here's fats, here's vegetables, and they use the word non-starchy, meaning they're low carbohydrate. Free choices, alcohol. Some people really don't want to cut that out of their diet. That's fine, but you got to account for what it is and that it's non-nutrition. Okay, alcohol doesn't give you any nutritional value.
Right.
It gets you a buzz or something you enjoy the taste of, but it's not fueling your body with anything. So, and we talked about treats and desserts. Here's portion sizes, so you're understanding what 100 calories looks like. So this is a great resource to you. Okay.
Who's ever had a 1-inch square of brownie? I don't know that I've ever been in a serving size like that.
Yeah.
You think about it. Normally a brownie would be a 4-inch square.
Yeah, but the important thing is you are seen and you're accountable for that.
Right.
In a 7-day period, maybe having a little brownie if you're maintaining your weight and you're moving, you're going to get away with it.
Right.
Okay, I've gotten away with it, and then I weigh on Wednesday mornings, and I'm like, woohoo! I stayed in my weight. I got away with that brownie. But some weeks I don't get away with a little bit more.
Right.
Does that make sense?
And
that's why you get on the scale every Wednesday.
You're eating one brownie, not one every day. Like that's also.
Right. And Dr. A talks about that in Discover Your Optimal Health. He says, I am not going to tell you that you can never have sweets. He says, but healthy people don't have them every day.
Right.
And he talks about how when he travels, he makes a point to not eat the chips and the breads because he normally is sitting a lot more when he's out traveling and not getting as much exercise in. And so, but he says, when I'm in New York on this specific area of town, they have some incredible bread. I have bread when I'm there in New York, when I'm there, but I don't have it all the time on my business trip. He talks about, but when I go to Italy and I stay for a week, I have bread every day because it is delicious because I'm on vacation and I'm not going to deny myself because it's something special for me.
Yes.
Okay. So that's real life. And we have to accept that. And I think sometimes we put ourselves in a box that I can't have cake. I had cake this weekend at a wedding. Okay. I exercised this morning and I hope on Wednesday it all works out for me, but it might not. And I can show you on my little, here's my little paper keeping track. So those papers that I showed you, I fold them in half, and then I write what I eat all day long, okay? That's how I'm in control of my plan. Now, my coach that I had, Kara Heron, she didn't like my big paper, and she said, well, why don't you have six of them on one page? And I said, well, I don't know. So she did that for me. So she's got 6 days on one page. So I started, this is what happened yesterday. And like I told you, I had some cake this weekend. So I wrote here, goal for today, no treats. But now I'm keeping track of what I've eaten so far today. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I have a plan and I'm making good choices. So let's continue.
For a sec on that. I think, exactly like you're saying, you need to have a plan. The 5-in-1 is so simple because you don't have to think. But if you're not going to stick to the 5-in-1 for whatever reason, you're not going to be successful just grabbing whatever.
And that's the point is you still have to pay attention. It's a journey. Like that's part of being human. Is taking care of yourself. And if you don't want to take care of yourself, then whatever you're doing is the results that you're going to get.
Right.
Okay?
You said
if you want to take care of yourself, then there's ways to do it. The 5-in-1 is awesome to get you to a healthy weight. But once you get there, you still have to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And that's what I told you. That's why I love Take for Shape for Life. It's the educational part of it for you to have the tools to take care of yourself for the rest of your life.
And
And so,
real quick, I was going to say too, is that I remember before I started Take Shape for Life, I was doing something similar to this out of the grocery store, but I was having to make all 6 meals and it was horrendous. But one of the things that they suggested, which I think you made a really good point that I don't know, you kind of went over it real quick, but most of us are creatures of habit. Once you do this for a week or two, you're going to find that you're doing the same thing almost every other day.
right, and I can wing this when I'm at a healthy weight maintaining it, but when I start graduate, so I bounce between 136 and 142 pounds. Okay, I've been on 2 trips, weddings. I'm closer to 142 pounds right now. I'm not going higher.
Right.
How do I prevent that? I pay attention. When I'm back at 136 pounds, I will be a creature of habit and I won't have to pay attention as much.
Yes.
When I first transitioned off, I was really, really good at doing this. As I maintained my weight and every Wednesday looked awesome, I didn't have to pay attention as much.
Right.
But that's where the M comes in on what, the once a week monitoring. That's what determines on how much you have to have this paper out. Does that make sense?
Well, and if somebody, I'm just trying to think about these clients that I keep talking about. So if they were to say, all right, looking at Sarah's list, every morning for the first week, I'm going to do 1 piece of toast. I'm going to do 1 apple and, whatever that is. And they just do that every morning for a week. And they do the same lunch every day for a week. Now the thinking is out of it, but they know they're in the parameters, because I know how some people's brains work. When they start seeing this, they shut down and they're like, oh, me having to log it. And they go back to the mentality of why they started the 5 and 1 when they called me and said, I'm ready.
Right.
So if they can
keep it simple. If you're overwhelmed, just keep it simple. The food groups to pick out, to just pick, 1 serving size, keep it simple, and use the Optimal Health or the MetaFast meals for the in-between eating. And it's simple still.
Yes. Yep.
It really is if you want it to be. If you're in a place that this is overwhelming, then you need to think deep about the 5 and 1 again. But if you're in a place that the 5 and 1 is not worth it to you, but you still want to take care of yourself, then you do have to do a little bit of thinking. It's a fact of life.
Right. Right.
So, anyways, if you want to figure out how much weight you want, how many calories you can eat and maintain your weight, this is where you come. Okay. Remember, we were on the website and you clicked on our programs. You went to 3 and 3. I showed you a list of places to find 100 calorie. Okay. Keep going down. So I'm female. I want to keep my weight at 140 pounds. I'm 5'4". I lie. I want to be 136. Okay, I'm 43 years old. Okay, I always do this. Why? I want a range. So I'm not sedentary. I don't lay in bed. And I do walking. Okay, so slightly active. Calculate your TE. 1730. Okay, you see that?
Scroll it. No, because we can't see the bottom. Oh, yep.
1730. So I'm going to write that number down. 1730. Okay. Then I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to click moderately active. Okay. And then I'm going to push calculate your TEE. Then I'm going to put 1951. Okay. So I can maintain my weight eating between 1,700 and 1,900 calories a day, right? And I have some sample menus over here that I can look at, right? And I could say I'm ready to eat 1,900 because I'm exercising a lot. This is a sample menu. It has the same things that 1,500 calorie thing had on it. It's just different because it's more calories. So I have a starch, 1 grain, a piece of bread. I have a dairy and a fruit. Pretty much that never changes on any of the calorie things, okay? Then it's more calories, so they've got the optimal health in here. Or I could have 2 MetaFast things to make it the same amount of calories.
True.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, then lunch, blah, blah, blah. So you can make your own chart out of whatever calories you need. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Your coach doesn't need to make one. You can make your own little tracker thing. So if you have to eat, oh, this is going to get too technical. Anyways, so that's my range. I can eat between that. Now, I know that I'm not perfect. And so I often will bounce between, remember, it was 17 and 1900, right? I will eat between 15 and 1900 because that gives me wiggle room.
Right.
Does that make sense? If I took a little extra bite of something or the portion size wasn't just right, I have more of a range. But I walked for an hour this morning and I went swimming for 50 minutes.
Oh.
So do you think I'm hungry today? I am. And I've told you what I've eaten. I've followed. But I know I'm going to need to be closer to the 1900 than I am to the 1500.
Sure.
But I'm going to try to stay closer to the 1500 because remember I told you last Wednesday when I weighed in, I'm closer to the 142. And so I'm slowly trying to bring my weight back down to 136. So I need to be staying closer to the 1500 when I'm eating, hoping that I'm burning extra to get those pounds to come down slowly.
Right.
That's how I'm maintaining and managing my weight. Does that make sense?
Completely. Yep. This is great.
So I could keep talking for a long time because I'm obviously this is so fantastic.
well, like I said, my biggest thing is I really want to help my clients who, so like you said, they ultimately need to decide if they want to stay and buckle through the 5 and 1, and
which is awesome,
or they get to plan and do a 3 and 3 or a 4 and 2 or whatever, but looking at these parameters and remembering it's not a whole roll. It's not a piece of cake every day. It is this structure, and they still will be fueling every 2.5 to 3 hours. And they just need to decide how they want that to look. And luckily, at least 3 meals of their day are going to be our meals to make their life simple.
Right. And, randomly they can plug in things like a healthy fueling could be just a yogurt cup, or it could be MetaFast or portion control meal, or it could be optimal health.
Right. Every
day is not going to be exactly the same. If I'm busy, I always have 2 bars in my purse.
Right.
Always. To this day. And I'm trying to maintain my weight. But it's because that I'm starving, hungry, crazy, low blood sugar, that causes trouble.
It does. Well, this last week, I've eaten perfect for a couple weeks now. And I had my husband pick up pizza for the kids on Friday night, and I had steaks and I had everything going, and I was really low on protein in my house. So all I had was these 2 steaks that I was going to cook. And it was I didn't even get them on the barbecue until it had been 4 hours since eating. Got them on the barbecue. He walked in just because our night had been crazy. So it took about 15, 20 minutes to cook. Got it in. So now I'm almost at 4.5 hours of eating. We cut into the steaks. There was something wrong with them. Like they had taken on the flavor of something in the fridge. So now there's no way. I have pizza on my counter. My blood sugar is tanking, and I don't have another option. So I just said to my husband, all right, let's have a pizza and a MetaFast meal and call it good.
And that was a great choice. That was a great choice. I had a client yesterday. I stopped at her house and she said to me, oh, you caught me. I didn't have any food, and she had Whataburger at the house. And I said, okay, let's talk about real life. Let's look at what you just ate. I said, okay, not perfect choice, but let's think why you should have thrown away the top of the bun. So at least you just had half of it, and you'd say that was a grain.
Right.
You had the patty. That was your protein on the thing. You had lettuce and tomato on your hamburger. That was your vegetable. And okay, you probably had a little mayonnaise and ketchup, probably not low fat or, reduced sugar ketchup, but okay, now you know what you ate, right?
Right.
And you know what food groups came from that. And I said, later today, when you're choosing what to eat, make amends for that.
Right.
And stop saying, oh crap, I ate Whataburger and my health coach saw me on top of it. Don't do that. Let's, and her face just lit up like, I'm not a horrible person. I said, no, you were hungry.
Right.
You had nothing to eat.
Yes.
So let's make good choices and let's go forward and see, okay, let's see where this counts. And then let's plug in the rest of the day from there.
Yeah, just keep going every 3 hours. That's kind of been my mantra is it's like, you know what? If you happen to go eat, a dinner and then you go have dessert and they bring out, I always say here in Utah, they have we go to Wingers and they have the asphalt pie and you think you can have one bite and then you end up clearing everybody else's plates. You're like, and I'm like, you know what? If all else fails, go throw a MetaFast bar in your mouth in the car because at least you're bringing protein in behind.
A little bit of protein, and you go for a walk. And again, if you didn't have that every day out of 7 days, you're probably in the wash. It's going to work out for you.
Exactly.
But don't get discouraged. Just keep evaluating and doing what you're doing. And you have to have that fuel. Like I told you, you're going to be hungry if you're skipping and you're not getting enough calories spread out during the day. Mm-hmm. And that is really probably why you've gained weight. That's probably why you're having a hard time getting it off, it's that structure.
Yes.
And then having those things kind of grouped together that give you the energy, the carbohydrates that you need, but the protein to elongate to keep you satisfied, and then you do it again.
Yep. That low blood sugar kills you every time. If you're not eating every 3 hours, you're in trouble. So, okay, well, I'm going to end the recording, and then you and I can keep chatting after, but I'm hoping that this is what my people, if they can shift from either losing weight on the 5-in-1 or totally eating everything in sight and gaining weight.
Right, you got to come in the middle.
There's a middle system, but it all comes down to planning and what they want that to look like. So, well, thank you, Sara, for helping us out, and we'll figure out what attachments to attach to the video so that I can send this to them. So thanks.
Okay.